So what we got here is a 2007 Jeep Rubicon. It's trail rated. Got some nice suspension upgrades and stuff on it. But what we got here is not running right. So we're gonna hook this computer up and see what it tells us. Okay, so let's go here and just see what we got for codes. And this does have the 3.8, I believe, V6. Go ahead and stored codes. And we have a number 2 cylinder misfire. Evaporated small leak. We're not want to worry about that right this second. But let's do a little thinking about the cylinder 2 misfire. Now let me get to where I can start this thing up and we'll get some live data up here and just see what we got. Okay, seeing how the code was for number 2 cylinder, I unhooked the plug wire off the plug. Got my spark tester in here and I've got it grounded up here, which should be a okay ground. What we're going to do is start this thing up. We're going to see if we got any spark there. And then we'll go from there. If we got spark, we'll go a different direction. If we don't have spark, then we'll make sure we know what it is. Now I do got my now known as a scope on a rope sitting here. And what I'm going to do is if I don't get spark or something, I can test it with the test light here to see if it arcs across to it. That way it's hooked right to the battery ground, so I'll know the ground is not a question. I don't think it will be, but let's start this up. Okay, so what I got here is no spark whatsoever. So let's just test and nothing. Okay, I see a wee itty bitty, I don't know if you guys can see that or not, but with the test light going to ground, I barely got a spark. So now I know it's sparking, so that's telling me that all the controls are going, it's actually working. But I'd say we have a bad coil because I can barely ever so lightly get a spark doing it this way. I just got the gap so wide here that it's not jumping it, but if I almost touch it, you guys will be able to see this or not. If I almost touch that, I get a little bit of a spark. I don't know if that's showing up on camera or not. So that's telling me I am getting some kind of a spark out of here, but not enough to fire a plug. So let's do another cylinder that we know is good, just to compare. Okay, what I've done is I've pulled the plug wire off to the one behind it. We got the spark tester in there. Let's start it up and see if we got a spark there. Okay, we disabled another cylinder. The mist got worse, but we have spark. See what it should be doing? So that's telling me for sure we have nothing coming out of there. So what I'm going to do is one last thing is I'm going to pull this wire off and test it right at the coil just to make sure it can't be that wire on number 2 cylinder. Okay, with that coil just coming off the terminal there, I still get that very weak spark. I don't know if you guys can see that. That's telling me I do have control there. So I'm not getting no spark out of there. And it really looks kind of nasty there too. But anyway, seeing as what I'm seeing is how we're not getting no spark out of number 2, I think it's going to be a pretty safe bet right now to call that coil being bad. Okay, after thinking about it, it's like a waste spark thingy. So I checked the back side. It fires at the same time, and then we do have a spark there. And the reason that is, this is basically like 3 coils, so these 2 fire off at the same time, these 2 and these 2. And I got spark, but no spark in the front. So what we're going to do is replace this coil. Okay, so what I've done here is pulled that little red clip up. You can see like there's a little space on the one side here. You're supposed to be able to push that clip together and pull it up out, but as soon as I touched it, the bottom piece flew. So then there's a tab right here you got to push in really hard and then pull out. You might have to push in and then pull out. The plug wires I just took off and laid them off to the side where I know where they'd go. And we're going to take these two 10mm bolts. There's one here and there's one here out. Okay, after taking the two bolts out, we get the coil off. And then here's the new one. You just want to make sure that they're the same before you put them on and stuff. Okay, we got it back on. Now these two bolts I just tightened with 1/4" drive ratchet. You don't want them to fall off, but they don't have to be really snug. I mean, just tight enough it ain't gonna come loose. I'm gonna use a little dielectric grease on these. I like dielectric grease on them. You know, it kind of seals it up a little better and it keeps contaminants out. Dielectric grease really doesn't make a better connection per se, more maintains a connection and insulates a connection. So we're going to apply a little dielectric grease, put the plug wires back on, and do not forget to plug the electric wire back in down here and push your clip back down in. Okay, now we want to push each one of them back really good until they snap. Make sure they're on there good. Now, sometimes it's good to change the plug, but if it was just sitting in there doing nothing, getting washed, I mean, the other thing you got to think of too is if this was run for a long time this way, has it started converter damage or anything? But let's start it up and see what we got. Okay, let's start this up and see. Okay, already I can tell this is different. This is better. The mist is gone, the dead mist. Okay, so let's go down here. And the fuel trim's still high, but now when we give it fuel, if you look here, it's already correcting -10. As soon as I give it the gas, it starts correcting. So what we're going to do, one last thing we are going to do before we give this back, we're going to check this oil and make sure it doesn't smell like fuel or over full or nothing like that. Okay, I pulled the dipstick out and it's a little under full. And it doesn't smell like gasoline, so I think we'll be okay there. Okay, so I pulled this off just to see what we look like in here. I don't know if you can see, but man, that thing is dirty, filthy. So what I'm going to do is just get someone to turn the key on and step on the throttle. Hopefully this comes open, and we're just going to wipe this out pretty good with throttle body cleaner and a rag and see what we come up with from there. Okay, so what I was doing was triggering a test. You guys probably can't see that. And when I trigger that test, it lets someone open the throttle with the key on inside. And then I kind of wipe that out. Not smart to have your fingers or anything in there, because if something happens that closes, that could be bad. And try not to spray a ton of crap back in there. The right way would actually be to take that off. So we're going to put this back on and start this thing up and see what it does. Okay, so I took this thing up the road for a little drive, top of the hill and back, and it seemed to run all right. Probably wouldn't hurt to have a spark plug change. So I'm going to call them up and tell them that it's ready. But they also have an issue. This has got electronic sway bar in the front of it, and it goes bad, and they're over $1,000 to buy the replacement part because there's supposedly no serviceable parts. I've seen a cable kit that you can tie into this and make it run with a cable and bypass it when they go bad. Just wonder if anybody's had any experience with those or with this electronic sway bar at all. If so, feel free to leave a comment. Thanks for watching.